So I'm getting ready to do one of my most unfavorite gardening tasks, which is to thin my seedlings. Thinning means that I'm going to remove one of the seedlings in pots that have more than one seedling growing in the pot. So when I planted the seeds, I planted 2 or 3 seeds in each pot in case they didn't all germinate. And some of these you can see, like this one here, only 1 seed germinated. So that's why I planted more than one, because some of them did not germinate. Even though I planted 2 or 3 in there, only 1 germinated. But in this pot here, 2 germinated. And this one here, 2 germinated. I have 2 in this pot. So what's happening is they're growing big now, and they're starting to use the water and the fertilizer and the soil, and they're starting to kind of compete for resources because there's not much room in these little pots for 2 plants. So also when I transplant them, it's the same thing. Once they're out in the garden, they would compete for the nutrients and the water and the soil if I planted them right next to each other. So they need to be separated by like a foot or 2 apart when they're out in the garden. So definitely having them right next to each other like this in the pot is not good. So what I have to do, and this is sad, a lot of gardeners hate doing this. Some people refuse to do it, but that's not really good for your plants in the long run. What you have to do is to remove the weaker seedlings. So like, for example, this one is very obvious that one of the seedlings is a lot bigger and has a big thick stem, and the other one is smaller. It probably germinated later. I don't know why it's that much smaller. A lot of times it's hard to tell which one is the stronger one, but usually I can, pick one that is the weaker looking, smaller seedling. And then what I do, I'm going to try to do this with one hand, is I take scissors and cut it right at the soil line. So sadly, I've had to kill one of my baby seedlings. I hate to do this because I have nurtured these plants and I love them like they're my little babies. And I hate to kill any of them. But the reason I don't rip it out is because the roots could be tangled up with the roots of the other seedling in the pot. And if I ripped out the plant and some of the roots came out, it might rip up some of the roots of the seedling that I'm trying to keep, and that would hurt the roots of the one that I'm trying to keep alive. So that's why I cut it instead of pulling it out. So with this one, these 2 are very similar in size, and I don't always go by which ones are the tallest. Sometimes that's the obvious choice, but one of the things I'm looking for is which one has the thickest, sturdiest looking stem, which both of these have a pretty thick stem. It's hard to tell which one. Or also if like if there's any disease on any of the leaves, then I'll remove the one that has more diseased leaves. These don't. I mean, these are fine. The only thing that I will mention about these is the leaves are starting to shrivel a tiny bit because they're dry. I need to water these, and that's part of the reason I'm doing this, is because it's drying out really fast with 2 seedlings per pot, having to compete for water. So in this case, it really doesn't matter which of these I choose. They're pretty equal in size, and they both look like strong, healthy seedlings. So I'm just going to pick one. I think I'll cut the one that's kind of leaning. Actually, I don't know. Kind of think it has more leaves in it. Yeah, actually I'm just going to cut this one. I'm not going to cut the one that's leaning because I think it has better leaves on it. So I'm going to cut this one down right by the soil. All right, and there it goes. So I'm going to thin all of these to where they each have just one seedling per pot. And I'm going to remove the weaker ones whenever there's an obvious weaker one.